going on, everybody? It's the Bull Show, aka Aiden, and welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, it seems like there is a lot of speculation around the Chicago Bulls and them potentially staying put in this trade deadline and not making any moves of significance. So I want to talk about what that could mean for the Chicago Bulls and whether or not I agree with the potential stance that the Chicago Bulls may, I guess, make during this trade deadline period. But before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Bulls Show, turn notifications on, and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about the Chicago Bulls and whether or not you believe that them staying put and not committing to any sort of trade or any sort of move in the trade deadline is a good move or a bad move for the Chicago Bulls. But before I go into what I think about the situation, which of course I love to give my opinions, that's why I make this channel in the first place, I want to, I guess, identify what this may mean for the Chicago Bulls. So let's just say absolutely no trade has been done for the Chicago Bulls. No player leaves this team, no player comes into this team. It's exactly the same as we sit. Well, the only real thing to look forward to after that is the buyout market. You're going to have to hope that there are some players that will potentially be bought out during this, I guess, season, and if the Chicago Bulls are desperate to bring that player in, well, you're in the conversation of maybe a potential buyout. For guys like, an example, a Tony Bradley that is still on this team, he could potentially have been bought out or will be bought out in the future. So that's really all you have to look forward to. And what we've seen from buyouts is usually players that are not happy with their situation, players on expiring deals, players that want to compete, all of these things. So you need to put yourself in a category of, I guess, where do the Chicago Bulls fit in that mold? Well, we have very limited financial options this season, let's just say. Again, I think we have a little bit just above the minimum deal we can offer to a player. So that's one thing right there. Financially, we might not be able to compete in the buyout option compared to other teams if a player wants more than the minimum deal. In terms of competing, we're not competing. I'll tell you that right now. We're not winning a championship this season. We're going to, in my opinion, we're still a play-in team at best at this point in time. Yes, things can change. The Bulls can definitely change our minds. It's up to them, really. But the way that I see it as we sit right now, this Bulls team is a play-in team, and I do not think we're going to be a competing team in the NBA. The only good thing that might come in our favor is potential opportunities. For example, we don't have a lot of, I guess, forward help, I guess you could say. So if we decide to get in a player like Jay Crowder, who, to be fair, in all merits wants to start for his own season, but even if he just wants big minutes, we might be able to provide that for him. So for an example, if Jay Crowder ever gets bought out from the Phoenix Suns, and the list can go on. We got opportunities on this team to play some big minutes because our team has been struggling and has been extremely inconsistent, and one player could definitely change that. If we need the player, and if the player wants to come here, then we're in a good opportunity to maybe go after and pursue a buyout option. But in terms of financial gains, and in terms of competing, we definitely have a disadvantage in the buyout market as well. So that's definitely one thing that you have to look at in that buyout market. And that could potentially, again, help us, but also hurt us. And that's why the buyout market, in my opinion, is not necessarily the best destination for the Chicago Bulls to be at the moment, but that's just might be the only option that we have. And again, that's the sacrifice and the risk you have to take when you're pursuing buyout options. That's what we did last season. It's what we could potentially do this season as well. Now, by all means, this rumor is not 100% guaranteed. Me making this video does not mean the Bulls are not going to do any trades by the trade deadline. For all intents and purposes, they could have done a deal while I'm uploading this video. You know what I mean? Anything can happen at any given time, and I truly think no one actually knows what the Chicago Bulls are going to do. But if they are telling teams that they want to stand where they are, they don't want to make significant changes, they want to stay put where they are, what do I think about that situation? Personally, I'll give them this. There are not a lot of teams out there that have made moves so far. You expect by the end of the trade deadline, it'd be busy as hell. Everybody making moves, determining their futures midway through the season. If you're tanking, you're tanking. If you're competing, you're competing. Are you buyers? Are you sellers? Again, these are the things that a lot of teams have to determine their future on. and a lot of teams have not been willing to make trades as of yet. That can definitely change. Again, the big Kyrie Irving trade, the biggest one we can talk about. But other than that, a lot of the trades have been very minor, few and far between as well. So not a lot of teams are making big moves on their season so far. So I'll give the Bulls credit in that way. They're not alone in terms of this situation. But at the same time, I feel like if you're going to be talking about we want to compete this season, we want to fight to get into the playoffs and to compete well in the playoffs this season, keeping the team the way that it is basically, in my opinion, the nail in the coffin for our season. Not necessarily, but it could potentially be that way because we've had well over 50 games now of what this team is. And we've got, 30 odd games to go? I don't expect a massive leap from where we are to where we need to be. Yes, I understand there's still post-All-Star break. You got the All-Star break, you got a whole week, extra week to figure things out and to get things together and have a good stretch of the season. Maybe tanking teams are really going to start leveling up their tanking and just lose every single game from here on out. And the Bulls can capitalize on that for sure. But if you're talking about the top of the Eastern Conference, competing at the highest level you could possibly be, then I'm sorry, keeping this team the way that it is not going to work. You don't have Alonzo Ball to make it even better for us, but at the same time, it's clear that we need help in certain areas, and ignoring it once again will make us not be able to compete. Yes, we could be a play-in team. Yes, we might be able to get into the first round of the playoffs, but if you're truly asking this Bulls team to compete, go to the second round and try to compete there, I'm not really sure that's what the Bulls can do this season with the way this team is currently constructed. And to be honest, I'll say this as well, in fairness to the Bulls front office, I don't think anything that they trade for can really make the difference for us either. Because I really feel like it's the core and the coaching staff and everything in between. I think it's more the one problem. So going out and making one trade, for example, there's been talks recently that the Chicago Bulls are shopping Andre Drummond, actively trying to shop Andre Drummond. You trade Andre Drummond for anybody that you think could help for this team, doesn't make the biggest difference in the world, because you still got Vooch, still got Zach, still got DeMar, you still got the coaching staff that has been critiqued and I guess analysed the whole season and has proven to be not good enough. The core, for many people, still doesn't work very well together, and trading for a bench player, trading bench players for bench players, will that make the biggest difference for this Bulls team? In all honesty, if you're really wanting, I guess, to maybe shift a little bit, if you really want to make the biggest difference, you'd have to trade one of your core players. And the biggest one that has been talked about is Nikola Vucevic. But again, more rumors are coming out that Nikola Vucevic, the Bulls feel confident that they can re-sign him in the offseason. So with all that being said, Vucevic might not go anywhere, which means that the core will still be the same. So they're banking on continuity. Once again, they're banking on this team gelling together and actually taking a step forward. And I think many people have come to the realization, or at least come to their own understanding, that that simply hasn't worked, and it might not work in the future either. So again, for a front office that says they're emotional after every time that they lose and that they feel the same way that we feel, I don't necessarily think their actions speak louder than their words if they decide to do absolutely nothing. But again, it really comes down to, are they willing to take the risk? If they don't take the risk, are other teams willing to take the risk? And certain teams have been willing to take that risk, but most teams so far have not. So come the trade deadline, when it's actually all said and done, if you see multiple upon multiple trades, almost half the teams in the league are really persisting on making some deals happen to shift their futures, and the Bulls still do nothing, then that's when I'll be really shocked, upset, pissed off by this Bulls team. But if they're just going to stand put with everybody else, well, I can understand it. I would still be upset with it because it's clear that we need some moves done. But again, it's in a situation where maybe other teams as well are involved in this that are not willing to give up their players or not willing to shift the needle for their season as well. So that makes it 10 times harder to actually get a significant deal over the line for the Chicago Bulls. We'll wait and see, but it's not looking good so far in terms of that retrospect. Again, these are all rumors, all speculations. Do not take my word as gospel. Do not take my word as the Bulls will not make a trade, because again, by all metrics, they still can and they still will. I just believe that no one really knows, and if there's reports saying that the Bulls are going to stay put, That's my opinion. I think that it's not necessarily the right move to make, but other teams are very hesitant on their own moves as well. And I also feel like in terms of what we have to look forward to, it's a buyout market that we don't have the power in compared to last season. Last season, a lot of people still thought we would compete. We were still around the top 4 of the Eastern Conference. We're doing significantly better than where we are this season at this point in time. I don't think you have the power compared to other teams now in the buyout market. So you better hope that the only player that we want to pursue in the buyout market, that we're the only team that can be interested in him. Or if there's a team, for example, like Boston or the Bucks or Philly that come in for these guys and want to discuss a buyout option, we have to be honest. Yes, we're the Chicago Bulls. We're a very large fan base. We have a very large market. But if you're really thinking about it, if people are being bought out and want to compete, they'll go to every single team I just mentioned before us. So we don't have as much power in that way as well. So interesting times. I don't expect the whole team to be changed in the trade deadline. I expect most of this team to be, I guess, sorted with in the off-season. But to do nothing at the trade deadline, I'm not too sure about that. I guess I'll wait and see what they do. And also, I'm very, very intrigued to see how other people will react to this situation. So keep your eyes and ears around the YouTube space, around Twitter, around social media in general. See what other people have to say, because they might raise some interesting points that I haven't mentioned. And of course, if nothing is done by the trade deadline, I'll make my reaction by then. Because my opinion now is that I'm a bit frustrated, but I'm trying to stay composed. Maybe by the time it's done and we've done nothing, maybe I'll feel a little bit different. Or maybe I'll feel my emotions will be, I guess, a little bit higher than what it is now. Anyway, I'm going to end this video here. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new. I'll see you in the next Chicago Bulls video. Have a wonderful and safe day. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay tuned for more. Take care and peace.